Welcome everybody to a new episode of the FICompass Jam Sessions podcast. I am Eugenio Saba and I will be your host today. Today's guest is Piotr Krasuski, and Piotr is Director of the Department of the European Social Fund, Ministry of Funds and Regional Policy, Poland. A warm welcome to Piotr and thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you, Eugenio, for inviting me, and hello to everybody.
So, Piotr, you represent the managing authority of the Polish National Operational Programme, co-financed by the European Social Fund, ESF. And you have been implementing the National Fund for Social Entrepreneurship for a long time now, and it's a financial instrument that supports the social economy enterprises in your country. Could you maybe give us some highlights on that?
Yes, sure. This fund was implemented first time in 2016, and its objective was to provide professional loans for social economy entities. Firstly, it was financed by the ESF from the previous programming period, from the perspective 2014 to 2020, also from the state budget resources and private capital. It wasn't the first program of repayable instruments for social economy, because we started, in fact, first time in 2012 with a pilot project supporting the sector of the economy, the social entities, with financial perspectives from the money coming from 2007-2013 perspective. What is important, that the management of the National Fund for Social Entrepreneurship was entrusted to BGK. This BGK is the abbreviation of the state-owned national bank responsible for public investments and also for the financing of the economic developments. Total budget was 37 million euro throughout the country. This fund is estimated to finance at least 1,200 loans for many social enterprises, which is expected to create at least 1,200 new jobs. Loans provided under the fund support both startups, new company, new entities, as well as developed social enterprises. And by the end of the April, 800 loans with the total volume of 20 million euro were granted. The borrowers declared creation of almost 1,000 of new jobs, and at least 60% were already created.
What are the challenges that social economy enterprises are currently facing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, the situation was and is still very serious, because the vast majority of the Polish social enterprises found themselves in a very difficult situation caused by the epidemic state and the total lockdown in April and May. The restrictions introduced to stop the COVID-19 outbreak resulted in limitation or even complete suspension of the social entrepreneurs' business activities. The social economy entities that lost entirely the opportunities to earn lost totally their financial liquidity and have very serious problems to retain their staff.
Recently, FICompass hosted a webinar on the Coronavirus Response Investment Initiative, or CRII, and its extended version called CRII+. By the way, for our listeners who want to know more about the flexibilities introduced by these measures, we invite you to listen to the first episode of the FICompass Jam Session podcast. In this webinar, colleagues in BGK, as you said, the National Promotional Bank of Poland, presented the National Fund for Social Entrepreneurship. And Piotr, can you explain us how did financial instrument assist the social sector during the COVID-19 outbreak?
Yeah. So maybe I start with the general assessment, general overview of the CRII and later the CRII+, because it gives all the member states around Europe the very needed in this specific time, very needed flexibility, how to use, how to reprogram the ESF, and not only ESF, also the all EU funding. So we decided to follow this this way, to follow this opportunity. What's most important, in order to preserve existing job in social economy sector, we decided that the liquidity loan can be partially written off up to 25% of the loan capital if the jobs will be maintained. So we do hope that such measures will help to preserve job in the sectors, providing employment at people at risk of exclusion on the labor market.
Great. And in this respect, Piotr, could you maybe give us an overview of how your measures are performing and also an example of a final recipient who benefited from your very timely, I would say, support?
There are already 272 loan agreements that benefited from the new anti-COVID-19 solutions. Most, let's say, popular seem to be maturity period prolongation and repayment holidays. And what is very important, that from the very, very beginning, we are looking for those solutions, for those cases that allows us to combine the support for the social entity with the support for the local communities combating the COVID-19 outbreaks. I mean those situations that many social entities decided to shift their production, to shift their services into, for example, sewing masks, producing the gloves, producing the helmets, providing the decontamination services and so on. And these services are delivered to the hospitals, to the social care centers and so on. So I can say that this way we are able to double the layers of the support, not only for the business, but also for the anti-COVID outbreak. And if you are asking about the examples of social entities, I can give an example of Naleśnikarnia from Śląskie region. Śląskie is a southern Poland. This is a small restaurant which serves crepes. And all we know as difficult was and still is the situation of the gastronomy and catering business during the lockdown. So this restaurant benefited from the repayment holidays for 6 months, and they will continue, we hope, repayment of the loan this coming autumn. Other example could be Association Karuzela from Radom. Radom is a big city in central Poland, and the Association Karuzela runs primary school for children with autism. And similarly to the rest of Europe or even rest of world, the schools in Poland were and still are closed to the end of the school year. So this association, this school, benefited from the possibility to prolong the deadline for creation of job place due to unstable situation on the labor market.
Great. It's very good to know that your financial instrument is really working well and already providing some relief to your social economy sector. Now, if I may, for the last question, we would like to know more about you and your colleagues in the managing authority. Maybe you could tell us how have you been impacted by this crisis and how this new situation changed your daily work?
I think the best example how we are affected, that now I'm speaking with you from my home. As in many companies trying to maintain business continuity, also in our case during the COVID-19 spread, a rapid shift to remote work was necessary, and conducting all the limitation and restrictions given by the government. Actually, this was the first time in the history of the public administration in Poland, and also in my personal career, where all the teams, all the resources had to very quickly switch to virtual communication, collaboration, and operation through the remote ways of work. And it was really amazing how quickly we discovered the power of technology, the power of internet, and so on. on. It's been a great workplace revolution, but I think that we succeed to keep operations perfectly going with minimalizing the risk to our employees, to our colleagues. Judging the number of tasks we succeed to carry out during this period, we have fully succeeded in a remote job, and we learned a lot.
Well, I'm glad to hear that all your colleagues are fine then, and hopefully we'll be back to a new normal very soon. I just have to thank you a lot for your time today, Piotr, and for sharing your experience and your useful insights. I hope you enjoyed this short interview at least as much as we did.
Thank you very much for this interview, and I wish you and all our listeners a lot of health, a lot of optimism, and hope that not for a long time we will be back to the new normality.
Thanks again, Piotr. Thanks again. This is all for today, so stay tuned for the next episode of the FICompass Jam Sessions. If you have any questions or want to suggest a new podcast topic, just send us an email at info@ficompass.eu.